Hey now, it's Space for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA Wrestling, Unbreakable 2025, and maybe a little bit of Impact. But if you guys watched it, there wasn't really much to talk about on this episode of Impact. It was very much just kind of like not much happened on that episode. At least I can't, like, if it did, I can't remember it. I watched so much wrestling in one day that I'm just like, I don't remember everything that happened. So I'll try to pull up some notes on that, but I think Unbreakable should be the focus. And we'll get to it. But before we get started, we got to start off with the news. I posted it on Patreon earlier this week. JD and I had a discussion on Sunday, and then we finalized our discussion on Sunday night. Because of my travel situation coming up beginning next month, really they're coming to pack up my house on May 1st. Right, so they're taking everything, and so that'll be like a 2 or 3 day process, and then I'm going to be living out of a hotel for like 2 weeks. I won't have any of my gear. I was thinking about maintaining I might maintain my microphone, but that and my laptop. That'll really like be the extent of my gear, which actually is really all you need for a podcast. But what I don't have is a space, and I'm going to be in a hotel and my family's going to be around. And in the past, what I've done is like escape to my truck and try to do it. And it's just going to be too much this time. So right after Rebellion, I'll go live. I'm hoping JD will join me on the Mike and JD show. If JD isn't able to make that one, I'll just make it a Brace for Impact, and I'll just give it away on Voices of Wrestling. And that'll be the last show for the foreseeable future. Probably looking at like 2 months. So what I need everybody to do right now, if you're a Patreon subscriber, and let's be honest, most of the Patreon subscribers are subscribing because of this show. And that means a lot to me. That's why I'm still here, even though I told a lot of people to cancel. I'm still here doing the work because I know a lot of you guys paid for just this. So that means a lot to me. And I really respect your guys's, the money that you guys have spent on this is what's kept it afloat. And I really appreciate that. So I'm going to try my best to give you your money's worth, and I'll get to that more on that in a little bit. But what I need you to do is, if you're listening to this, cancel the sub and get a free sub. Okay. And then I'll try to do updates on the free tier. I will try to knock out some content here and there, but I can't do regular routine content when I'm on the road. And I'll talk about my travel schedule coming up, but the reason why I want everybody to cancel, and we worked hard to get to a decent level, like for a small channel like ours. We have a couple thousand subs on YouTube. I have a couple thousand subscriptions or follows on Twitter. And, we got like 40 some odd. We had at one point over 40 paid subscriptions on here. And those 40 people were keeping everything going. Like without those 40 people, we had nothing. So, what I can't do is have you guys maintain your subscriptions and me not be able to provide you the content. It's happened on this site before, but rarely did I ever do it where I said I was going to do something and I just didn't do it. Right. So we gave you the Mike and JD show each and every week, regardless. And I never missed an episode of Brace for Impact. I always said you're going to get Brace for Impact. We tried to get overtime started, and, with JD's schedule and with my schedule at times, it just didn't quite work out. JD started Mid-South Memories recently, and that hasn't been as regular as he would like it to be. I started doing Raw reviews, but I saw that nobody was listening. But what I always made sure was like, you guys were getting the Brace for Impact and you're getting the Mike and JD show each and every week. And those things happened every single week. And that was really important to me. I can't guarantee that. So what I don't want to do is take your money, right? I don't want that kind of money. That's grifter money. And I've railed against grifters, and I can't do that. So if I'm not going to be able to give you regular content, I don't want your money. So please cancel your subs. It would actually make me feel bad if you forgot, which Dre, my homie, Dre, number one AJ Francis fan, DM'd me this morning, said his subscription just hit. And I'm like, bro, I told everybody to cancel. Now I feel bad that I got your $5. I'm going to keep it. But I do feel like I legit feel guilty that when you guys don't cancel the subs. And there's still a lot of people that have not canceled. So I'm going to have to every week until we go on hiatus, I'm going to keep hammering that. Cancel your sub, cancel your sub, cancel your sub. If you cancel it and I end up doing an episode that you don't have access to, DM me on Twitter and I'll just give it to you. Okay. For real, legit. So that will happen. So I appreciate. So what we're gonna do is May 1st, they're coming to get all my stuff. May 5th is my retirement ceremony. I'll be in a hotel for a couple weeks, and I'll leave the island of Oahu, and then we're gonna go to California, and we have family up and down that state that we're gonna be staying with, and I have a travel trailer and a pickup truck that's staying with my in-laws. So we're gonna get that. At times we'll be in a camper or like a travel trailer at like a campground, and then other times we'll be in a hotel. And we're going to start we're going to be up in the mountains for a little while. We're going to make our way through the Bay Area, go down into the Central Valley where my family's from. And then we're going to go down into Las Vegas. We're going to spend a week in Las Vegas with my mother-in-law. And one of my best friends lives in Vegas. BQ also lives in Vegas. I haven't told him yet. So I'm going to reach out to BQ and make sure I get a chance to meet up with him at some point. And then we're going to go all the way up to Yellowstone in a travel trailer with me, my wife, my daughter, and my baby. So you guys are wondering why I can't produce content. That's why. And I'm the wheelman. So I'm not going to be watching wrestling. I'm not going to be following wrestling. I'm not going to be doing that. I can't be on my phone. I'm not going to be on my tablet. Like as we settle down, I might try to watch a little bit, but that's going to be the extent of it. So we're going to go up to Yellowstone. We're going to stay there. Then we're going to come back down through, go to Missouri, and then head over to South Carolina. And we're going to do that over like a 6-week period. So that is going to be wild. And then I plan to get to South Carolina at the new house by sometime in July. And then then my stuff has to come to me. Then the packers have to unpack, put it all away. And then we have to figure out how to place everything. And then right after that, I got to go to New York City for a week. So we're looking at maybe at some point in July, I'll start back up, but until we're like hit the ground running fully, might not even be until August. So, but why it took me a while to come to this conclusion, because I love the show. I love Mike and JD show. I love Brace for Impact, and I love you guys, and I like interacting with you guys. And I wanted to make sure to continue to give you content. So I was going to do it come hell or high water. I was going to try to force it. I was going to, and risking making my family miserable doing so. So instead of that, I just said, you know what? As much as it pains me, I was like, I think it's time to take a break from the podcast for a while. And I had been thinking about it for a while. And then when I was in Kauai and I was trying to watch Impact, and it took me 3 days to watch. And I had planned on doing the podcast there. And whenever it didn't work out, I was like, there's just no way I'm going to be able to do this on the road. I'm not going to be able to watch any shows. I'm not going to be able to interact on Twitter. I'm not going to follow the news. There's just no way. So that's the update. I'm going to keep hammering it home until we cancel, or until we go on hiatus. But I really appreciate it. I'm just not going to kill the Patreon because I want it to stay alive. That way you can come back. So Billy says best wishes on the move. Thanks, Billy. That's respect advising your subscribers to unsubscribe till further notice. I'm actively telling you guys not to give me money, so I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. I try to be like a good person sometimes. You could still do Patreon articles. So I maybe once I get to South Carolina, I could, but I'm the wheelman. My wife's not gonna be driving the truck and the trailer. It's gonna be me. And we're gonna be on the road all day, and then just sleeping in hotels and campgrounds along the way. So like, what would I even write about? You know what I mean? And when would I get the time to write? So that's kind of like what I'm thinking of. So while I also have some stuff with me just in case, not likely. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I guess it could happen, but not likely until I reach my destination, I get settled in, and then we start, get moving. It might be a while before I even get to watch or consume any content. So I'm going to be going quite a bit of time. My hope is my first episode that I'd like to do on the return is a Brace for Impact after Slammiversary, because it looks like I might be able to go to that. We're still working out the travel. If I can't travel in until the day after, then I might not. Then obviously I wouldn't be able to go. But I'm trying to go in the day before. So we'll see. We'll see what that's like. But all right. So that was the big news. I thank you everybody for supporting the show. I greatly appreciate it. I watched Impact, and to be honest with you, I really don't remember what happened. All I know is that Laredo Kid beat Cody Deaner, and it looks like Cody Deaner's on his way out of the company. He's a guy that worked hard. He never really got over. I think he tried this fan, like giving the the power to the people type of thing. He's not the first person to ever do that, but he was trying to do it in his own way. And it just never really worked out. Everybody knew who's going to lose. He's probably a guy that's going to go to Maple Leaf Pro. He's a Scott D. Moore guy, but he is a person that I believe everybody likes. And which is why he was probably around for a while. He's actually like, when he was in Violent by Design and he was a heel and it was his job to be the workhorse of that group, you could tell that he was actually a pretty good worker, and he did have some good matches. But he just didn't have that next level of charisma that you could push a guy like him. But he always worked really hard, and he did, like, if you go back, you could, especially when he was in Violent by Design, you could tell he was capable of having good matches, and he actually had a lot of good matches, and he was really good at the tag team. Like him and Joe Doring, I think him and Eric Young teamed a lot, and they had a lot of trios matches. And you could tell, like Eric Young was the best worker, but the guy that was probably putting out the most effort was Cody. So I'll always respect him for that. I know we had a little bit of fun of it at his expense on this show, but it was never anything personal. I just kind of had grown tired of the gimmick that he was doing. I got why he was doing it. It's a gimmick designed to get the people riled up, like very much like a Hacksaw, like, Heath, like that type of deal. And then he's going to get his ass kicked. Right. And so that's what it was. Well, it looks like that has come to an end. He got to challenge Moose for the X Division title last week. And then this past Thursday, I guess last night, he faced Laredo Kid. Now, if I'm getting that wrong, you guys correct me. Let me pull up the Impact results. I could pull it up really quick. No, Laredo Kid beat Jason Hotch. What am I thinking of? Why did I think? Who did Cody Deaner beat? Maybe I should. Cody faced Casey Navarro, and then Casey Navarro beat him. That's how much little I remember from Impact last night. All right, let's just get to the results. Laredo defeated Jason Hotch. I actually remember that match now. That match was actually really good. Both guys can go. Laredo Kid hit some pretty sick high-flying moves. He even got one over the top rope and hit a Hurricane Rana. Laredo Kid. Oh, let me bring this up. Since a few weeks ago in El Paso, First Class defeated Laredo Kid in Octagon Jr. And I went on Twitter and said TNA has no respect whatsoever for luchadors. And if you're a luchador thinking of coming to this company, you like have some dignity and just hang up the phone, right? If they call you. Lucha Blog, who's probably like the most popular like American blogger when it comes to Lucha Libre, him and Rob Viper, I would say, responded. He's like, look, you don't understand. Like this might be their only opportunity to come to the States. There's more money here, and they're willing to eat shit. And I was like, look, I get it. So me saying they don't have any dignity was a bit strong, and I could do that at times, but I felt strongly that TNA doesn't respect luchadors. Well, the following week, Chavo Guerrero Jr., Octagon Jr., and Laredo Kid won their match. Now, Chavo got the victory there. Like, that was built around Chavo, but Laredo Kid got a victory. This week, Laredo beats Jason Hotch, who's a young up-and-coming star, drops the name Kid. Now he's just Laredo, gets another victory, second victory in a row. And then last night on the dark match for Unbreakable, which I think will probably be released on digital at some point, maybe even like Explosion or something like that. He actually got a victory over Gringo Loco. So there you go. So 3 wins in a row for Laredo, and he's no longer a kid since I went on that rant and insulted them. And like we said last week, the one thing that we can say about Delirious is in the past, he has done a good job of booking Mexican and Japanese talent. He has done a good job of that. He actually respects Mexican and Japanese talent. Clearly, he respects Mexican talent because his whole gimmick is a luchador, like a crazy American luchador, right? But yeah, so we'll just go over the Impact lineup, and then we'll get to what everybody's here for, the Unbreakable stuff. Laredo defeated Jason Hotch with Tasha Steelz. I thought that match was pretty good. G. Miller interviewed Leon Slater. He was super confident about taking on Brian Myers. I don't know why he's so confident. He loses every week. Cody Deaner is worried that his contract is set to expire on May 1st. So I believe that's a shoot, and I think he is actually out the door. Director of Authority, Santino Marella wants to help him, but the board is concerned with wins and losses. Marella gives Deaner an opportunity to qualify for Ultimate X at Rebellion. So there you go. Isaiah Brookside with Lei Ying Lee defeated NXT's Jasmine Nix with Fallon Henley and JC Jane. I can't believe those are real names. But yeah, mid-level, as Billy said, mid-level NXT women talent being featured on the bottom of the card. Is not that interesting anymore. It was going to have a shelf life. Nobody cares anymore about the crossover, unless you get the big stars, right? When we get the lower level stars, it's like meh. Like they're not even getting big pops. They're not being treated as big deals anymore. It's like nobody cares. The Gigi Dolan crew, like her, Gigi Dolan and whoever her tag team partner is, I think it like could be something, but because they have a Fatal Influence, Lash Legend and her tag team partner, and then Gigi Dolan and her tag team partner, we got 3 different tag teams here. Like nobody cares. So, but Zaya Brookside got the victory there. Zaya Brookside. So there you go. Cody Deaner then loses to Casey Navarro, and it appears that he is out the door. So hell of a run by Deaner. He was here for a long time, off and on. And Casey Navarro is now in the Ultimate X match. So there you go. And then Maggie Lee gets featured. So they're trying to recruit Maggie. So Personal Concierge introduces Maggie Lee, who will be stepping in for Ash by Elegance because she was in Australia for a month. So Gigi Dolan's tag team partner is Tatum Paxley. Lee teams with one half of the Knockouts World Tag Team Champions Heather by Elegance to battle Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. Heather refuses to tag in the match, shifting with the momentum in favor of Dolan and Paxley. The Concierge creates a distraction, allowing Heather to assist Lee from the apron to regain control. Heather inadvertently knocks Lee off the apron. Dolan and Paxley put Heather away with Cemetery Drive. So there you go. The NXT girls get the victory there. Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, Spitfire and Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley all want a shot at the Knockouts World Tag Team titles. Guess what? You all want a shot? You all get a shot. Fatal 4-way, baby. Fatal 4-way at Rebellion. So there you go. Yep, gave them all a shot. So it's like typical. AJ Francis cut a promo in Las Vegas ahead of Unbreakable. And then Joe Hendry and Knockouts World Champion Marsha Slammers then cut a promo they actually cut a pretty good promo, I thought, leading into Unbreakable. And then Danny Luna with Jody Threat defeated NXT's Jakara Jackson. So there you go. And then Elijah performed live for the crowd in TNA. Walk This Way is something he's trying to get over. So in TNA, we walk this way. That's like the new gimmick. They even had signs planted in the crowd. He asked the burning question, who wants to walk with Elijah? We'll find out at Rebellion as Elijah lays out the open challenge to anyone from any company around the world. Guys, I have to caution you when thinking about this upcoming match with Elijah, okay? As always, when it comes to TNA surprises, as always, lowered expectations. And I told you guys heading into Unbreakable with Moose's opponent, turns out it was fucking Reggie. It's like it was Reggie wrestling in a t-shirt out of shape, botching his moves. Like, they're not taking big swings on some of these talent. So chances are it's going to be a low-level NXT person or somebody that nobody cares about. But there you go. So open challenge for Elijah. Ethan Page then questions the judgment of world champion Joe Hendry, who will compete at the injured shoulder tonight at Unbreakable. Not smart if you're injured and you got a world title match coming up. And then we go to the main event. So I did not think this was a good idea to have as a main event, but they truly treated this episode of television, valuable television, as a countdown show to Unbreakable, because this is a fine match on a countdown show, like a pre-show for a main event, but this is not the main event of your television show. And I don't have anything against either guy. But if this was a true main event of a TV show, everybody would have walked out. You know, they would have been like, okay, well, let's just beat traffic, right? So, but Leon Slater loses again. Of course, Brian Myers cheats to win. So there you go. Not the match wasn't bad. I actually thought the match was pretty good. It's just not a marquee match for the main event of a television show. So there you go. All right, let's get to the chat before we hit the Unbreakable recap. So, yeah, Laredo defeated Jason Hodge. Billy says, I didn't even bother watching Impact. I saw the match lineup and it didn't look interesting. The mid-level NXT women appearing is no longer special. Leon should cheat. JC Jane is pretty good. Yeah, I think she is. Okay. Io says, I wouldn't mind Maggie with the Yell Against Girls, to be honest. She'll get lost in the shuffle. She'll get lost easily in the shuffle. Billy says, wasn't Diener also a producer, so you think he's no longer going to work backstage either? I don't know. I mean, like they're advertising that he's leaving May 1st. I guess he could stay around as a producer. But, with them, they don't mind having people doing double duty. The guy's still pretty young and can wrestle a little bit and can lose matches. And so, like, those guys are needed. So I think he might just be gone completely. Who knows? Like, I really don't know. I haven't seen any reporting on it. I'm just going based off of what I saw on television. So, yeah, that's all I can think of. Oh, real quick. It's not even worth clipping because I'll be honest. Let me see. I did a New Japan video earlier in the week. And I did a New Japan video earlier in the week about Takeshita taking over. And it did, let's see. It did 56 views. So I'm not going to waste my time doing a ton of New Japan talk. But New Japan let go of Bushi and Tetsuya Naito. Tetsuya Naito, obviously one of the biggest stars in the history of that company, like easily top 15. And but he has been washed for a long time. And he is no longer under contract in New Japan. Bushi, who was loyal to Naito, quit the company. He left. There's been some people talking about them possibly coming to TNA. That's my fault. I egged Gerard on to start saying that it was Naito was coming to TNA, and then I joined in, of course, because the day before Sean Ross Sapp put out on Fightful Select that TNA has secured 3 international talents. Okay, so the 3 international talents, guys, as always. I wouldn't expect that to be anything big. Naito would be a big deal. And Naito doesn't like coming to the States. I think he just wants to work like Noah and the Indies in Japan, and that's it. So I wouldn't even remotely think that Naito's coming to the US to work. Right. Yeah, he doesn't really care to work in the US. So put that to bed. Io says Bushi is still pretty good. Yeah. Naito, if he took some time off and got himself healthy, maybe, but he just like when Tanahashi wrestles, like you can tell he's giving everything he's got, but he just doesn't have much left. Naito doesn't have much left and he's not giving everything he's got. Like he's just half-assing it. So there's a difference between the two. When you watch Tanahashi wrestle, you can tell that he still cares. Naito, like part of his gimmick was that he just didn't really care, but you can tell that he doesn't care, right? Like legit. So, all right, guys, I don't have a whole lot of time left, so we're gonna go ahead and recap the TNA Unbreakable 2025. So here's my overall thoughts on Unbreakable, and of course the 3-way tournament to crown a new TNA International Championship. I like the belt. I think the belt's beautiful. Okay. I like the idea of the championship when last year when AJ Frentis introduced the TNA International Heavyweight Championship, like he brought it over from Montreal. I was like, there's your title, right? Like that should be the title. Get rid of the DMC, do the international. And through trials and tribulations, that's where we're at. I like where we're at with it. Okay. Here's where they screwed up, right? And where they lost people. And I think that now the title is going to start off as a negative, despite the fact that they have a great champion. Okay. They booked a 3-way tournament to pay homage to AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels, one of the greatest matches in TNA history. If it's not your number one, it's probably in your top 5. Okay. And it's one of the more famous matches. It legit put the X Division on the map. X Division had been around for a little bit, but nobody really took it seriously. It was just like, these little flippy do guys on the undercard. This one was in the main event, and it really cemented AJ Styles and Samoa Joe as guys who could be main eventers and world champions, right? Daniels was always like really good, but nobody ever really saw him at that level. But AJ and Samoa Joe were guys like, okay, now these guys are at the next level. So that's what that match was all about. Planting a flag, cementing the X Division as being one of the top divisions in all of pro wrestling, like the most exciting, and cementing 2 potential top guys for the future, right? That's what that match signified. They booked 4 3-way matches, and maybe one of them was good. None of them had come close to what they did that night. None of them. Now, you can say, well, Mike, they weren't going to top that match. I get it, but you should have at least tried, right? You should have at least tried with a couple of the matches. They have good wrestlers in this company. They don't have AJ Daniels and Samoa Joe level, but they have really good wrestlers. It sucks that they lost Speedball and they lost Josh Alexander, who were like their workhorses of the company. But they have good talent to be able to put in this tournament to be able to have something close to that, right? Like Trey Miguel was not in the tournament. Okay, but you had fucking AJ Francis and JDC who did not belong in the tournament if you're trying to capture what that match was all about. They were in WrestleMania weekend where they had access to some of the top indie talent from around the world they could have had in the tournament. Leon Slater wasn't in the tournament. You just say, well, Mike, he's in the Ultimate X match. He could have been in this match too. Okay, it's fake. You can put him in the Ultimate X afterwards, right? You didn't need to, like, this is like planned out over time. Trey Miguel wasn't in. Leon Slater wasn't in the tournament. Okay, Mustafa Ali wasn't in. Mike Santana wasn't in the tournament. And you just say, well, Mike Santana and Ali already have a match at Rebellion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? They could have booked that later. You know what I mean? They could have still been in the tournament. They put Zachary Wentz in a match with JDC and Eric Young. I love Eric Young. He is not the same guy that he used to be. And JDC is a character. Okay. He's not a worker. He's a character. So you have that guy. You could have put him in a match with Ace Austin and Trey Miguel, and they could have come close to that Unbreakable 05 match, right? Then you had Steve Macklin, Eddie Edwards, and Ace Austin. And I thought they were going to get to that point, but the match was so short that they couldn't ever reach that next level. They just couldn't get back to that next level. They should have watched what just happened at Dynasty between Omega, Speedball, and Ricochet, right? And try to keep up a pace like that, not have as many kickouts, do like 7-8 minutes less, and had a good 20 to 25 minute match with tons of energy, tons of exciting moves, all kinds of stuff, but they just didn't do it. And then they got to the main event, and the main event got killed, right? Half the audience left before the main event even started. BQ was there. He thought the Barbed Wire Massacre was the main event. And a lot of other people thought that too. So after the Barbed Wire Massacre, there was already a lot of people that had left. They left after Joe Hendry's match. And you got to the Barbed Wire Massacre, even more people left after that match because they thought that was a true main event. Nobody stayed because they didn't advertise it good enough that the main event was still coming, right? And then you get to the main event, and this was the match to crown the new champion that's supposed to be paying homage to AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe. And what they did is disrespect that match, not the wrestlers. The wrestlers were put in an impossible position, but the booking team and the promotion disrespected those 3 legends and disrespected one of the great matches in their history by putting on a match in a main event in an impossible position that led the fans to chant, "This is boring," several times. Now, God bless Steve Macklin, best worker in the match. Really did, by the end of them, had the crowd turned around a little bit, but you can't call it a good match when half the time people are chanting, "This is boring," right? You can't call it a good match. It's not a good match. It's not a good main event. It's one of the worst main events for any company this year because of that. Right? It's worse than Edge and John Moxley, right? And at least this one had a happy ending. And look, TNA protected themselves from my wrath Not that they're that worried about it, but they protected themselves by putting Steve Maclin as the champion. And at the end of the day, that's what's most important. But how they got there was disgusting, right? And you guys want me to believe in this guy Delirious? Well, he's fucking 0-1 with me, dude. Like, he screwed it up. What a horribly booked tournament. He had the opportunity to have some really good matches, right? But what they wanted to do was get to Eric Young and Steve Maclin at Rebellion. You shouldn't have had Eric Young in the tournament. Eric Young could have attacked him afterwards, made the challenge, and then that's your match, right? Eric Young clearly turning heel, and then that's the next program for Maclin. And that's a fine program. That's okay. You didn't have to have Young in the tournament. You didn't have to have AJ Francis in the tournament. You could have been creative. You should have had some international talent in that tournament. There's international talent in town in Las Vegas that you could have had in that match. And you still could have got to the same point where Steve Maclin is your international champion, and he goes on to defend the title of Rebellion against Eric Young. But you weren't creative enough, and you didn't have enough moxie, and you didn't have the balls to book a tournament that would actually have some good matches. What you did is you booked a basic-ass TNA Plus special in Las Vegas during the busiest weekend of the year for pro wrestling fans, and this is the outcome that you got. You fucked up. Delirious. You fucked up. And you're like, Mike, you're being too hard on Delirious. He's the guy in charge right now. He's the guy booking the matches, and he booked a bad tournament, and that's on him. And what he did is disrespectful to the legends. That's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. Okay. So, hold on. Ayo, are you sure that wasn't directed at AJ Francis, Mike? Ayo, AJ Francis was in the fucking match. It's directed at the match. And yes, when he was on top, they're saying this is boring, but the chant happened several times. I have never seen a main event have a this is boring chant. I just haven't seen it. I've seen other matches, like lower undercard stuff, like if you don't know the people in the match, these are three like made guys in TNA, and they got a this is boring chant. Right? So he shouldn't have been in the match. And people, like, as soon as the tournament brackets lined up, and we saw that this was dedicated to the greatest match in TNA history, the moment they put him in there, they failed. That, like, and it's not his fault. That's just what he's supposed to be the Samoa Joe in the match. What Samoa Joe does, he can't do, right? He is a character. He can do a couple cool moves here and there. He's a WWE trained guy. He's got WWE brain. He doesn't do the strong style shit that Samoa Joe does. He's not as intense as Samoa Joe. He's not as believable as Samoa Joe. You're like, well, Mike, he's bigger than Samoa. No, but Samoa Joe shit looked great, right? Samoa Joe acted, looked, and talked like he could beat the shit out of you. This guy's singing and dancing and jacking off, right? He's not a serious guy. Samoa Joe's a serious guy. Totally fucking different. So they put AJ Francis in a bad position, right? And so now what they did is they had one of the worst main events of the year of any company in America that I've seen, right? So that's all there is. So it's disrespectful to Unbreakable 05 to that legacy. So just want to get that out of the way. So the first match was Eric Young, JDC, and Zachary Wentz. It should have been Zachary Wentz, Ace Austin, and Trey Miguel. And you could still get Ace Austin in the main event later, right? The match wasn't that good. Zachary Wentz tried, but it just didn't quite work out. Eric Young ended up defeating, getting the victory, pile driver on Zachary Wentz, a really good pile driver. Match was okay. It was just okay. And that it's fine to have okay matches, but this is dedicated to Unbreakable 05, right? So that's the standard they set. Right? It's on them, right? But I thought Zach Wentz in particular looked really good. And then we get to the second one. So of the tournament, I thought this was the best match of the tournament. Maclin, Eddie Edwards, and Ace Austin. At one point, they got a "This is awesome" chant. Like I thought that they actually were able to get the crowd. Of course, look at the guys that are in the match, right? Look at the guys that are in the match. So three like really solid, awesome guys. Steve Maclin got the victory. He hit the KIA on Eddie Edwards, but the crowd was really into the match. And, at one point, Alicia Edwards was cheating, and that's probably going to take it down a notch for a lot of people. I didn't think it was that egregious, and it didn't really factor into the finish of the match too much, right? It wasn't like she jumped in and cheated to help Eddie win. Like her cheating was thwarted, and she's a manager. She's supposed to cheat, so they're heels. So that makes sense to me. But a good match, like like honestly, probably like as far as like in the ring goes, like the best match of the night, in my opinion. And then next we get the X Division Championship Open Challenge, Moose versus the big surprise that everybody was looking forward to. Hopefully you had your expectations lowered for this one, because Mr. Receding Hairline himself, Sidney Akeem, wearing a t-shirt, clearly out of shape, only capable of doing a couple of flips and one backflip spot he completely botched. And so he was a Reggie in the WWE, and he was fired there because they just never really saw it in him, despite the fact that he can do those backflips. And that's really all he had. He had a couple of moves, but you could tell a couple minutes into the match, he was completely gassed. And there was no zip on his moves. The best thing about the match to me is that Sean Merriman was on commentary. I thought that was cool because friend of the show, Sean Merriman, I got a chance to interview him last year. So I thought that was cool. But Moose ended up attacking the Univy hockey team at one point. And then that's where Sidney Akeem like capitalized and hit some moves. There was so much better talent in Las Vegas this weekend that they could have put in the spot. But you guys know why they put Sidney Akeem in the spot. Because he used to be in WWE. And that's who they're trying to appeal to. People that watch WWE. And the guy's got nothing. Like if I wonder if they gave the guy a heads up that, hey, you're going to be wrestling Moose for the X Division title on our show. Or not, I don't even think it was the X Division championship match. I think if he won, he would get a challenge, a title shot. But say, hey, you're going to get a shot at Moose. And if you impress, you can get a job. I wonder if they gave him a heads up on that. Because he wasn't that impressive. He was out of shape and gassed out and just clearly wasn't ready to go. I don't even know if hey, Billy, is this guy working indies? Can you let me know? I don't know if this guy works indies or not. I'm not really. I really haven't seen or heard from him at all. So backstage, Macklin approached Eric Young, offering a friendly "May the Best Man Win" for the upcoming International Championship match. Young's mumbled response and icy stare hinted at underlying tension, setting the stage for the main event. And then we get an injury report presented by Bioflex, a real sponsor. So there you go. And they updated fans on Joe Hendry's injury and I believe Sammy Calhoun's eye. So kind of a little subtle thing. I like the injury report and I like that they're doing it because they have like a sponsor, Bioflex sponsor. So there you go. Good for them. So I thought the second international championship match was good. We go to the X Division one. I did not think that match was any good. And then we picked it back up again here with the 6-man tag match, Mike Santana and the Hardys versus Mustafa Ali and the Nemeth brothers. Now, not a lot happened, but everybody's so over. The crowd was insane for the match, specifically for the Hardys and in particular, Jeff Hardy. At one point, Santana and Ali take off, so Ali left his opponents hanging, or his partners hanging, and the three, Santana and the Hardys, all kind of teamed up on the Nemeth brothers, and then ended up pinning Ryan Nemeth, Swanton from Jeff Hardy on Ryan Nemeth. So, but the crowd was super into this. You can't not say that wasn't a good match. It was. And then they go around the ring and they got some celebrity-ish people. Victoria Crawford, formerly known as Alicia Fox, she ended up getting involved in the next match. So I wonder if she's going to be around for a little bit. She's had a rough few years. Debbie Gibson, some guy from 90 Day Fiance with a bunch of tattoos. So there you go. I don't know who, other than Alicia Fox, I don't know who these people are. But they're famous apparently. So there you go. And at one point, Chris Angel was there. I don't know who that is. So he was a big deal when I lived in Vegas. Let's see. Billy says, yes, Akeem works GCW. Okay. And then Io and Dobby all said he works GCW. He's been working a ton of GCW shows. So there you go. He hasn't been working in the gym, though, because he was gassed, brother. It's like, this guy's toast. But he could do a couple backflips. He can't do them like in the direction he's supposed to be doing them. Like he tried the backflip at one point, botched it, and then he had to redo it when he's already gassed out, and then he ended up hitting his diamond cutter on him. So, but that's all the guy had, and he's a little guy too. So, then we go to the mixed tag match: Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich versus Frankie and Tessa. This one was, I thought this match was good, but like the crowd took it over and was chanting "F you, Tessa," and she's a racist, and racist chants at her. Victoria Crawford got involved physically with Masha Slamovich. And then Hendry took over, shrugging off his injury to hit the standing ovation on Kazarian, securing. So Joe Hendry was insanely over during this match. And I think that's kind of what carried it. This is a very basic mixed tag match. Nothing significant happened. But it was completely over with the crowd just because Joe Hendry is ungodly over, right? It's like Joe Hendry and Jeff Hardy are like 1A and 1B in this company right now. It's wild just how over this guy is. So, kudos to him. He's still, look, the guy's still over. He's working the shoulder gimmick. He didn't really sell it too much. Like, you could tell at times he was like remembering to sell it, but they really didn't do a whole lot to make me think that he's doubtful for Rebellion. So, like, I no longer care about the shoulder injury storyline that they were doing. And then at this point, like BQ said, right at this point, a ton of people left, right? Because when you get to the barbed wire match, like there had been empty seats, like off and on, like because there's so many events happening at the same time within a couple mile radius. The people were kind of popping in and out of the show. And after this match, a ton of people just took off. Right. So there was tons of empty seats after this match. People were there to see Joe Hendry and the Hardys. That's what that's all TNA's got right now is Joe Hendry and the Hardys. As far as like, according to ticket buying people, right? Backstage, Mike Santana confronted TNA Director of Authority Santino Marella demanding a match with Mustafa Ali. Marella granted a falls count anywhere match for Rebellion. So, so they left the ring. Ali was running around, avoiding conflict with Mike Santana, which then leads to the booker booking a falls count anywhere match. That's like booking 101. That's a good thing to do. Then we get more celebrity cameos. Moreland Greenwood, whoever the fuck that is, NFL alumni, Las Vegas chapter. Andreas Hale from ESPN and rapper Westside Gunn. So there you go. I know those two guys. And then we get an emotional appearance by Chris Bay. This brother almost had me crying at one point, but I'm such a man. I'm so masculine that I just didn't cry. So I'm way too manly for that. But it might have got a little sniffly, might have got a little dusty. But he talked about his emotional journey. So he said Chris Bay, who walked to the ring 172 days after a life-altering incident that broke his neck and caused paralysis. Bay emotional recounted his uncertain recovery, crediting Austin's unwavering support and the fans' energy for his ability to walk again. Crowd chanted ABC and "You're Unbreakable." As Bay declared, "This is the greatest story ever told," joking about owing Joe Hendry $20 and teasing a "We Bay Leave" t-shirt on a heartfelt moment. Yeah, that was cool. It was really awesome to see Chris Bay there. That was a big moment for me and for everybody else. So shout out Chris Bay. And then we get to the match of the night. Honestly, by far the match of the night, the barbed wire massacre. Barbed wire matches aren't for everybody, and I get that. And for the most part, they're not for me. I just like when Sami Callihan does it, and I'm not proud of it. But I like barbed wire. Sami is like my favorite Sami. I think I've seen him in 3 or 4 barbed wire matches in TNA, and I've always enjoyed them. Right. I think he does a good job with these. And Mance Warner is like the perfect opponent for that. So this is the 6th barbed wire match in TNA history. Began with a viewer discretion is advised. Began with a viewer discretion as advised. Early on in the match, Sami Callihan slammed Mance Warner into a barbed wire door, and then Mance's arm was just shredded and bloody and disgusting. And Callahan wielded a barbed wire wrapped Nintendo 64 controller, cheese grating his head. He had a sphere of barbed wire. He hit him in the nuts with it, and then he poured lemon juice all over his wounds. And then Mance Warner hit him with some salt in all of his wounds. You got Mr. Sacco with barbed wire, all kinds of stuff happened in this match. At one point, Sami stapled Mance Warner's tongue to the door, and then Mance Warner couldn't get his tongue off the door. He picked the door up. Sami hit the door with a steel chair, and Sami hit the door with the steel chair, and then his tongue got ripped off, and that was insane. That was probably the big moment of the match, and everybody went crazy for it. Sami Callihan ends up defeating Mance Warner by pinfall. Cactus Driver through barbed wire. Unhinged, bloody, disgusting. Not proud that I enjoyed it match, but good stuff. And then we go to the main event, the This Is Boring match of the show. So, yeah, not a good match. Like Matt, like after the This Is Boring, that did encourage the wrestlers to pick up the pace. And then at a certain point, like they hit AJ Francis with some big moves, and that got everybody into it. So AJ Francis entered fresh while Macklin and Young battered from earlier qualifiers followed. Young and Macklin initially teamed up, tossing Francis to the floor to a dual one-on-one, referencing their best man wins pact. Francis kept trying to rein her, only to be knocked back. The crowd restless chanted, "This is boring," as the pace slowed. Francis finally gained traction, hoisting both opponents up for a double slam. That was a big moment in the match, but only got two. AJ go away chance erupted as Francis hit a TFL, a tackle for loss on Young to the floor. Macklin hung Francis in the Tree of Woe, spearing him down, and they countered Francis' down payment attempt with a KIA, pinning him to become the first ever TNA International Champion. And then we go to the show closing angle. Backstage, the Nemeth brothers received a mysterious invitation, opening it and an unleashed CGI effects and a message from Broken Matt Hardy inviting them to the Hardy compound for a final deletion at TNA Rebellion 2025. So the Hardys are not going to be at Rebellion? I guess I must have missed that. Guys, are the Hardys not at Rebellion? If the Hardys aren't at Rebellion, that's a mistake. Like, they have to be there. So maybe they're going to do a Hardy compound next week on Impact leading to Rebellion. That's what I would assume. Like, they're not sending all those tickets for the Hardys not to be there for sure. But yeah, barbed wire was great. Main event was not very good. But Steve Macklin is the international champion, so all is right in the world. And Laredo Kid's winning matches, so what do I got to complain about? But guys, I got to get to it. We have a oh yeah, Io says I think the compound is on the Go Home Impact. Yeah, I think the recapper guy here just had it wrong. The recapper that I was reading. So, but guys, that's going to do it for me this week on Brace for Impact. I greatly appreciate you. If news breaks, I'll be back on the Patreon. Remember, cancel your paid subs, go to the free version, and I'll try to continue making content. We'll be back on Sunday night after WrestleMania, very likely, Mike and JD show. So there you go. Oh, Hardys are at Rebellion, says Dobby and Billy. So yeah, I think the recapper just confused me. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week on the Mike and JD on Brace for Impact. And until next time, mahalo. Brace for Impact, it's all inside. Hold your breath.